Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Simcha gedola, liyot liyot besimcha. Simcha gedola, liyot liyot besimcha. Simcha gedola, liyot liyot besimcha. Simcha gedola.
Breakfast with Elli.
Mode ani lefanecha melech chai bekayam shechezarta bi nishmati bechemla Rabba emunatecha.
Noya mavdil ben kodesh lechol.
allein als ein Kind stift öfter mehr, wie man erwartet von Oder wie man soll ihm noch gehen. Oder Teinit hat Teinit und hat zu dem Madrich oder zu dem Mechanisch. Und nicht nur mit der Schreckt sich nicht erfahren, nur Adrabe. Mir sagt ja, mein Herr sei heim, bis der jüdische Kind. Versteht mir, wo du willst und verlangt zu Chulhu, beliebt will ich dir erzählen als Sipur, was ich gewähnt mit jüdischen Volk oder mit der Jiden. In dem und dem Dorf wirst du sehen, dass ich Gwuri Hashem und dass ich Chazi, wenn ich lese, wie das gebracht und gebracht und auch gegeben zu Jiden.
Die Reibestir sucht, Hani Hashem, Reifeichu. Reifeichu, Elai, Amo Yisrael. Die Reibestir sucht, Hani Hashem, Reifeichu. Reifeichu, Elai, Amo Yisrael.
Good morning and welcome to Breakfast with Elli. It is Sunday, the 30th and last day of April, the 9th day of Iyar, 5783, the year of Hakhel. The Torah portion is Emor, back to single portions. I like that, right? Easier that way. HaYom Yom Rishon LaShabbos, the first day counting up towards Shabbos. We're learning the first Aliyah, and today is the 24th day of the Omer, which is really exciting. We are halfway through almost, right? We're almost halfway through the counting of the Omer, which is very exciting. And that means that this week brings some special things to it. First of all, we have Pesach Sheni coming up Thursday night and Friday. The second Pesach, we'll be talking about that this week. And it means that we are just a week away again, one more week away from Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the Omer, when the plague stopped, and more of Shimon Bar Yochai and all kinds of stuff. And so we will be talking about that. Lag BaOmer is Monday night and Tuesday of next week. All right? So don't get too excited. We still have a couple of days to go. All right? Let us get started. Boys and men, please take your tzitzis, two front tzitzis, and let's make a bracha. I got a shadow here. We got to get rid of the shadow. There we go. That's a little bit better. All right. Let's go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat tzitzit.
All right. Now, somebody asked me why we say the bracha Hareini Mekabel. We'll talk about that in just a minute. First, everyone together make the bracha al divrei Torah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah.
There you go. Now, why do we make the bracha Hareini Mekabel?
Ein Wort, was ist verbunden mit dem Reben dem Schwer, wenn geworden bar Mitzvah. Der Vater seiner hat ihm gefragt, soll fragen bei ihm, was bei ihm nicht verstandig. Hat damals bei ihm gefragt, was in Sieder steht. Als jeder Ayid stellt sich davnen, darf sagen, als ist zugegräht und nimmt auf sich Horn, mit keinem sein die Mitzvah von Wahrhaftel Reacha Komecha. Und hat gefragt die Frage, für was ist das verbunden darf mit dem Davne. Hat ihm der Vater seiner, der Rebbe geantwortet, als Bescheid mir will beten bei Vater, aber Kosche darf man früher verschaffen, an Nachas Ruach, an Vergnügen. Bescheid sieht, als die Kinder, was hat, was sie seien verschiedenartig und als Sach, stehen in einer Nahava Sachim, in einer Verbund von Liebschaft, einer mit allen, das verschafft Asami Nachas Ruhr, dem Vater, durch dem ist Memale, die Bakoshes, was die Kinder beten bei ihm.
הריני מקבל עלי מצוות עשה, אשר ואהבת לרעך כמוך. I take upon myself every single day to love my fellow friend in a very special way.
All right, Torah Tziva.
Ay Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha morasha keilat Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha morasha keilat Yaakov.
All right. Fantastic. Let's just getting a little bit more light in here. And we're good now. There we go. Yeah, light is the key. All right, everybody, let's give some tzedakah.
I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else to keep. Yeah, I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else in need.
Here we go. All right, tzedakah has been given. Take your right hand and put it over your eye.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
All right. And that brings us to breakfast. All right, I've got my coffee and my yogurt, so I'm making the Bracha Hakhel. I don't know what you have or what you're doing, but let's do it together. Are you ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakhol niyah bidvarei.
Coffee, blessed coffee. God bless you for being a friend. When the whole world turns on me, it's only you on which I can depend. I want to taste you in the morning and a few times throughout the day. Yes, a cup or two in the evening too. For me, it's the only way. Yeah.
Okay. Today, Jewish history. All right. First of all, good tvach, Shavua Tov, a good week. I hope your Shabbos was amazing, and that the week to come be everything that it can possibly be. Where is my Sunday gizmo? Why is that not on? Oh, it is. You just can't see it. Yeah, my overlays are not working. What's going on with that? Ah, here we go. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. All right. Today in Jewish history, today is the yahrzeit of Rabbi Nissen Nemenov in 1984. Rabbi Nissen Nemenov served as the mashpia, the Hasidic mentor at Yeshivas Tomchei Tumimim Lubavitch in Brunois, France, where he taught and guided many thousands of students. Renowned for his piety and his devotion to the 6th and 7th Lubavitcher rabbis, it is said that he reached the level of a Beinani, an intermediate man, as is explained in the Tanya. We are counting Sfira. We counted 24 last night, okay? So let's keep that in mind. We're going to pick up on that in just a minute. There was an incredible story that happened a few years back with a Lubavitcher woman who had come to New York for the International Conference of Emissaries' Wives in New York City. And I thought you might enjoy hearing this.
The purpose of Neshei Chabad is to bring the
Neshei Chabad convention in Detroit, Michigan. Let's say 20 ladies went. Figure out how many children did we leave at home. Baruch Hashem, on Ainora.
It was in February 1979, and Monday morning, the women, took off for the airport because they were all planning to travel home.
In Brooklyn, in the shadow of Grand Army Plaza, some parts of Eastern Parkway are plowed out. But as you can see here, other parts of the parkway are not at all plowed. These cars stuck and good.
The Rebishter hat geholfen. There was a terrible snowstorm. So all the ladies are sitting at the airport in Detroit. No planes.
To give you an idea how bad it is and how long it may take for New York City to dig itself out of all of this snow, that tow truck is attached to this city's snowplow.
Miriam Popak's the head of Neshei Chabad out-of-town conventions at the time. Now her daughter, Mrs. Feldman, took over. She went to the telephone and she called New York.
They have to get home, and here's the snowstorm, and they all began panicking. And they asked my mother to call up 770 and ask the Rebbe for a bracha. They should be able to travel home.
Rabbi Klein answers the phone, and she says, we're stuck in Detroit. Rabbi Klein said, ein minut, and he goes to the Rebbe. Mrs. Popak keeps asking for quarters and dimes and nickels, ching, 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 ching. Rabbi Klein comes back, and he says, the Rebbe will wissen, was heißt stuck.
These are the words of the Rebbe. Monday, Chaf Beishvat, the Baal Shem Tov's teaching that every occurrence contains a directive in serving Hashem is a topic that has been spoken of and discussed at length innumerable times. I am sure that you too have given speeches on this topic. Yet now, when an incident has happened to you, you seek to attach the most distorted possible interpretation. That is absolutely amazing. The simple and obvious reason for the delay is this. It is possible to disseminate Torah and mitzvos to a far greater degree than was accomplished during the convention. You are therefore being granted the merit through the snow which descends from heaven of completing the above task with an extraordinary abundance and intensity of Judaism, similar to the extraordinary abundance of the snowfall. Your efforts in completing the convention's task of disseminating Torah and mitzvos should be extended to the city, the airport, publicity in the newspapers, etc.
Wo dem Hashem mitzad der Geber Kinono, wie der Baal Shem Tov sagt, dort wo Yid gefindt sich, hat der Rebischter dahinzu geschickt und geschickt ihm als Scholiach. Soll dort versprechen Jüdischkeit und machen lichtig die Finsterkeit von Golus durch Tero Eir.
The women ran around the airport giving out Shabbos candles.
Some women went off to the university campus. Some of them set up different booths in shopping malls, also with Shabbos candles and talking to the women about all the mitzvahs of the Jewish women. After they reported to the Rebbe of everything they had done, this is what the Rebbe answered. It is a particularly great merit when the Almighty points with a finger and clearly shows one what to do from on high. May all your activities undertaken as a result of this divine indication be highly successful. It is obvious that each and every woman will soon travel and reach home, for she will have completed her mission.
Das, was hat getroffen, und man hat das gesehen oder gehört wegen der Ruf. Und befragt nach haben wir gehört mit der Sache Einzelheiten, ist das sichere Sache, wie der Baal Shem Tov hat erklärt, als keine Sache nicht auch in Zufälligkeit in der Welt. Und jede Sache, was Yid sieht oder hört, ist in der Ruf eine Umweisung von dem Ebersten, was soll sich fühlen, zu lieb dem, was der Eberste hat dem beschaffen, was in der Ruf besteht, echt sein Tewe Echt Begashmis in einfachsten Sinn in dem Leben von sein Leben und dem Besproches Leben und dem jüdischen Volksleben Bichlal, von welchem ist Teil.
There are women all over the United States today that are lighting Shabbos candles because the Nishi group, this is what they called us, instead of Nishay, the Nishi group was stuck in Detroit, Michigan. Aid is kein Molnit stuck. If you're somewhere, that's where you're supposed to be.
What do you think? Huh? What do you think? I think it's amazing. All right. Counting Sphira today.
49 days to count the Omer. After it's dark, Mark, at the end of my read, Steve, do it in shul, shmuel, just count with me. Look for the stars, Tamar.
Never say you're stuck somewhere. That's right.
Erev is the key, Tzvi, count Sphira with me.
I wonder why you didn't go to that convention, Bracha. All right. Here is the Rebbe counting Sphira, and then, good morning, CJ. The Rebbe counting Sphira, and then Chazan Brook and 49 Voices.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותו וציוונו על ספילת האומר היום הבא ו20 ימים שהם 3 שבועות ו3 ימים לאומר.
Day number 24, Tiferes of Netzach. Tiferes is compassion, Netzach is endurance, ambition, fortitude. Having compassion with ambition and fortitude is very, very helpful in the sense that it's very goal-oriented. And sometimes we can be so determined that we might lose sight of the bigger picture, right? It might be very selfish, it might be very ego-driven, our goals, etc. When there is compassion involved, when there's Tiferes involved, there's a beautiful blend, and it's healthy endurance where we're mindful of the other people in our life, or even into ourselves as to how we're getting and going about our goals with a sense of compassion. So good luck to having that, and have a beautiful night.
All right, fantastic. HaYom Yom for today. Test, the 9th day of Iyar.
Jewish people are not supposed to live to make money. We are supposed to make money to live. It's great if you can live in a beautiful home and drive a luxury car, as long as these frills do not cause you to lose focus of what is truly important and not important in life. Says today's HaYom Yom, Jewish wealth is not made of houses and gold. The eternal Jewish wealth is the privilege of being a Jew who keeps the Torah and the mitzvahs, and bringing into the world children and grandchildren who do the same.
Wow. Wow. That's cool, right? All right. And now, a word from our sponsors.
And now, a word from our sponsors. PestProRidol.com.
PestProRidol.com, trusted by the best to keep away the pests. We are offering COVID-19 disinfection services. Mention this ad and get 1 month free service. Visit us at PestProRidol.com.
Tarzane Group, micro, miniature, and small orchids. Go to TarzanGroup.com or call Tomas at 305-440-0565. That's 305-440-0565 and order today. Visit Tomas and Yair at TarzanGroup.com. Micro, miniature, and small orchids. beautiful in your home. Go to the website and read Tomas's Orchid blog. And by Dina D Design. DinaDDesign@gmail.com. Fine artwork, custom made to your specifications. Logos, wall hangings, Judaica. And you can even have something for your child's room. Dina D Designs. Go to her Facebook or Instagram or call or text. Thank you very much to our sponsors. If you'd like to become a sponsor, please go right up here to where it says patreon.com/theactorsrabbi, and you can contribute even only $1 a month if you'd like, but that'll help us bring this broadcast to you on a daily basis and cover our expenses. Be sure to thank your sponsors when shopping and mention Breakfast with Elli when you're shopping there. There might be discounts. Thanks for watching.
Torah, 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 Siva Lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Siva Lanu Moshe.
All right, thank you so much. Go to patreon.com/theactorsrabbi or breakfastwithelli.live/tipjar if you would like to contribute to bringing Torah live around the world every single day except Shabbos and Yom Tov. Or go to breakfastwithelli.live/tipjar if you'd like to just, tip your hat to us and give us a buck or two to help us pay our expenses. All right? All right, the name of the Parsha Sunday. On the opening words of our Parsha, Omer, speak to the Kohanim. Rashi comments, speak to warn the adults about educating the children. At the literal level, the verse is speaking of the specific responsibility of the adult Kohanim to educate their children about the priestly duty to remain ritually pure. However, in a broader sense, since this is the opening of a Parsha, which contains guidance for us in general, our verse could be understood as a warning to all parents about the importance of educating their children. In this case, we're not speaking about the basic necessity of education that one is required to give to raise up the next generation, since such a fundamental principle would surely have been given soon after the giving of the Torah, rather than here near the end of the book of Vayikra. Rather, the opening of our Parsha is hinting to a more advanced approach to education, which becomes relevant after a child has already been taught the basic principles of right and wrong. Now, the precise nature of this advanced approach is highlighted by another important concept in our Parsha, the counting of the Omer. Not only is this mitzvah recorded in our Parsha, it's a precept that we actually observe at the same time as the reading of the Parsha, since Parshas Omer is always read during the month of Iyar, during which the Omer is counted every day. Nisan only partially, right? All right. Hasidic thought explains that counting of the Omer is, in fact, an advanced form of education, where a person progressively advances from higher levels of spiritual achievement as they refine different aspects of their personality step by step on a daily basis. The lesson here is lahazhir, to warn the adults about educating the children. The Hebrew term lahazhir is a derivative of the word zohar, meaning light. So Rashi is teaching us that education is a never-ending process that needs to grow consistently on a daily basis, bringing many positive qualities to our children so that they literally shine with light. Now, the first collection of laws concerns only the priestly caste, and indeed is addressed to them specifically, while the second is central to the life of the entire nation. As we know, the fact that both topics are contained within the same parsha indicates that despite their apparent unrelatedness, they have a common denominator, and that common denominator is expressed by the name of the parsha. So, Emor, to say, as we know, the usual formula Hashem uses when communicating his commands is daber, speak, prefacing the command to say with a command to speak. In Hebrew, the word for saying and speaking carry different nuances of meaning. Speaking is hard speech, a straightforward, objective expression of the message to be conveyed, emphasizing the accuracy and precision of the content and no more. In contrast, saying is soft speech, a subjective tailoring of the message reflecting full consciousness of its intended recipient in order to facilitate effective communication. Now, according to our sages, the unusual double expression with this parsha opens, with which this parsha opens, say to the priests, the sons of Aaron, and say to them, means that Moshe is not only to deliver Hashem's message to the priests, but he is also to enjoin the elder Kohanim to instruct the younger Kohanim. As we'll see, this is the Torah's first injunction regarding education. Although this is directed to the priestly caste, we are all called upon to be Mamleches Kohanim and Goy Kodesh, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. And therefore, Hashem's instruction that the elders educate the youth obviously applies to all of us. Whenever we see in someone else a behavior or an attitude that's in need of edification or correction, we are ipso facto immediately cast by divine providence in the role of educator. In this sense, we may play the part of teacher not only when educating our students, but in dealing with our colleagues, our children, and ourselves as well. Excuse me. The implication, therefore, is that education in all its contexts must be carried out primarily with soft speech. In order to be effective, educators must emphasize fully with their charges and tailor their style of delivery accordingly. Furthermore, we can infer from the repetitive say and then say that in order for our educational efforts to be effective, we have to make full and extensive use of our power of speech, even though our sages have enjoined us to say little and do much, as it says in Pirkei Avos, and that I did not find anything better for the body than silence. This means that we should ensure that our speech carry content that and that we avoid unnecessary repetition. The essential ingredient of effective education through soft speech is praising the student. All our potential students, no matter who they are, possess infinite latent good. And by praising this good, we draw these positive qualities out of them, allowing them to actualize their potential to a far greater extent than they could have done by themselves. To be sure, when we assume the role of educator, we must be fully aware of the spiritual state of those whom divine providence has placed in our care, assessing their failings and shortcomings honestly and objectively. However, at the same time, we must give them the benefit of the doubt, attributing any misdeeds to the circumstances of their lives. Now, judging them in this way does not absolve them from the guilt of having succumbed to temptation, because Hashem only places people in difficult situations if he's given them an advanced and necessary strength of character to overcome such situations. Now, if they fail to do so, that's because Hashem has that this God-given inner strength has not been allowed to manifest itself as it should have, and the reason for that is because we, who are responsible for educating our charges, have not praised them enough. Had we used our soft speech as much as we should have, we would have elicited our charges' latent potential and inner strength. Now, all educators must assume personal responsibility for the moral failures of their charges. What's unique about the Jewish festivals is that the Jewish people who sanctify their dates, whereas the holiness of Shabbos is fixed every seventh day, being Shabbos regardless of any act on our part, the dates of the festivals by which we sanctify time are fixed only after the Jewish people, as represented by the rabbinical court, determine when the month begins, hence the 2-day Yom Tov outside of Israel. The cycle of festivals, the sanctification of appointed meeting times with Hashem, is thus a further expression of the potency of speech, the power to influence and determine reality. By pronouncing a specific day, the first of the month, we use our power of speech to educate time, to grant it a sense of holiness it wouldn't otherwise possess, or rather, to reveal our intrinsic holiness that would otherwise remain hidden and latent. As for the last 3 topics of Parshas Emor, the first 2, the candelabra, the menorah, and the showbread, the lechem aponim, can be considered a postscript to the section on the festivals, transferring the periodic inspiration of festivals into a daily ritual of the temple. The closing topic of the Parsha, the incident of the blasphemer and his punishment, is clearly a dramatic illustration of the improper use of speech and its consequences. Only because speech possesses real power is such grave importance attached to its misuse. So, after being told in Parshas Kedoshim that divine consciousness can indeed penetrate all facets of reality, we're taught in Parshas Emor, this week's Parsha, exactly how much power we have to accomplish this goal. As Mamleches Kohanim V'Goy Kodesh, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation, we have the power to affect and even determine reality through the proper use of speech, educating both our own inner youth as well as our actual youth towards Kedusha, holiness, and imprinting time with Kedusha as well. This is from 2 sichos given by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, basically both on the same subject. All right, in the first Aliyah of the week, it discusses the Kohen's obligation to maintain a high level of ritual purity and the women that a Kohen may marry. An ordinary Kohen is prohibited to come in contact with a human corpse, except to attend the funerals of his next of kin, and may not marry a divorcee as well as some other women. The Kohen Gadol is not permitted to attend even family funerals and is required to marry a Basulah, a virgin. How about that? It's a great Aliyah. Absolutely great Aliyah. All right, let's begin with Shnayim Yom.
Parashat Emor Rishon. In this Aliyah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu classifies as different levels, which means Kohen Gadol, Kohen Ediot, you have Chalalim, which are those that were pasul from Keuna. You have different levels in Klal Yisrael, and that's what the parasha is talking about, and it needs a lot of explanation when and how this comes about. But what is the very first thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to point out while classifying all these different classes? The very first thing is brought down in the right away in the beginning. Emor el hakohanim, emor ve'amarta, says Rashi, le'azir gdolim al haktanim, which means the most important thing to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the most elevated thing to our Torah is to speak to the children, to warn the children, to be mechanech, to educate the children in the right path. So although there's different levels, very high levels, like a Kohen Gadol that goes into Lifnai veLifnim, B'Yom HaKippurim, he does wonderful things, Avodat Bet HaMikdash, and Kohanim that do a lot of wonderful things in Avodat Bet HaMikdash. But what is the most important? That is, by the way, the first thing that the Torah speaks about over here. And the very first thing usually has more importance, because that is the first thing you speak when you speak to the nation. What is it? La'azir gdolim al haktanim. We have to give everything we have to our children in order to educate them and take them to the right path, grow them correctly, teach them to do the right things. That is the very first thing that the Torah speaks about, and that has the most important, carries the most weight.
All right, fantastic. And now our 2-minute rabbi.
Jewish audio on Chabad.org.
A great life lesson. You got to mean what you say and say what you mean. That's true. Good idea. But it creates a little problem in this week's Parsha. You see, in this week's Parsha, it speaks about a mitzvah that we're all doing now, counting the Omer. And it tells us that you should count mimacharas haShabbos. You can find that in chapter 23, verse 15. It tells you from the day after Shabbos you should start counting. Now, of course, it doesn't say which Shabbos that is. And so we know that it doesn't actually mean Shabbos, the day of the week, but it means a day of resting from ordinary activity, the day we know as being Pesach. That's when we start to count the Omer, the day after the first day of Pesach. Outside of Israel, we just call that the second day of Pesach. So here's the question. Why is Torah being so ambiguous? And it's not just ambiguous here, it's seemingly directly misleading. So much so that this verse led to a horrible split in the Jewish people. The Tzedukim, the Bible literalists, who rejected any interpretation, tried to manipulate the entire Jewish people into miscounting the setup of the holidays so that Pesach would always fall on Shabbos and would satisfy their literalist meaning. This led to a terrible breakdown of Jewish community. Why? Why can't Torah just say it straight up? Well, perhaps there's a message here, certainly there is, that it's important to have the Shabbos level in order to accomplish what Sphira is about. Sphira is not just counting. If Sphira was just about getting us from point A to point B, like a child who's anticipating the end of school and the beginning of summer camp, we'd be counting down 49, 48, 47, 3, 2, 1, end of school. We're counting up. And in order to count up, in order for us to be promoted, in order for us to be elevated, we first have to have a Shabbos quality. We have to have a total rest from materialism. Because as long as we are still linked into materialism, as long as we are still linked into the ordinary weekday, there ain't no way that we're getting beyond where we are. You can't lift yourself up by pulling on your own hair. We've got to detach ourselves. We've got to jettison the material, the physical, the ordinary. We've got to Shabbos in order for us to have a launching pad from which we can go from 1 to 49, from Egypt to Sinai. And so the Torah therefore tells us, despite the risk, despite the opportunity for misinterpretation and misunderstanding, that Shabbos quality is absolutely necessary. It's what gets us going. It's what allows us to count the Sphira and to make those days rich and to make them a progression from where we are to where we need to be.
All right. Here's Connor Weisberg.
Is your life cluttered with so much doing that you can barely catch your breath to appreciate being? In the art of Japanese flower arrangements, empty space is left around each flower to properly appreciate their beauty. The empty space is considered as important as the flower. This week's Torah portion teaches us about Shabbat. In our three-dimensional world, there are 6 directions: north-south, east-west, up-down. The Kabbalists compare these 6 directions to the 6 days of the week, when we are in an outward-bound, masculine mode of doing and mastering creation. But there is a 7th dimension, the dot inside that holds all the 6 different directions in their place. Without this dot, the others would not be. The 7th dimension is the feminine Shabbat, the source of all blessing. What is the message of Shabbat? Focus on being. Pause, absorb, and appreciate blessings. Put your work life in its proper priority. Realize that work is ultimately only a channel for divine blessing. This Shabbat, how can we take a break from doing and start being?
All right. Someone had asked me to give an overview of the entire Parsha at the beginning of the week. So let's do Shazak.
Around the year.
Now it's time for a holiday tour.
Hashem takes Moshe on a journey around the Jewish calendar,
explaining the laws of each Jewish holiday and the proper korbanos to be brought.
And so Hashem commands Moshe,
"Speak to Bnei Yisrael and say to them, Ela Moadei Hashem.
These are the holidays of God, my holidays.
Designate them as holy occasions. For 6 days you shall work, and on the 7th day it's Shabbos, a holy occasion. Stop all work.
It's Shabbos for Hashem." Moshe continued his holiday lesson. A Yom Tov is like Shabbos, and we are not allowed to do malacha, work. There are 2 major exceptions. We can cook food to be eaten that day, and we can carry things outside if we need them for the holiday. Moshe went on to describe 5 holidays. Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot are called the Shalosh Regalim, which literally means 3 legs.
On those days, it was a mitzvah for Jews to travel to the Beis HaMikdash in Jerusalem
to offer special korbanos, sacrifices.
Besides the Shalosh Regalim, the other 2 holidays in this parsha are Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
So there you have it.
All the holidays.
Shabbos and the Big 5.
Pesach,
Shavuos,
Rosh Hashanah,
Yom Kippur,
and Sukkot.
A proper overview of the Jewish holidays would take a few books, not just a few mere paragraphs.
Perhaps we'll write some Shazak books on the holidays. Any ideas for a good title?
Yeah! How about a Shazak book on the Jewish holidays? Isn't that creative?
No. I don't think so.
Stomach celebrations? No way! Open a Siddur, a prayer book, and you'll see that our festivals are described as Moadim L'Simcha, Chagim Uzumanim L'Saso, festivals for rejoicing, holidays and seasons for gladness. So, rejoicing on the holidays is really important.
But what is the definition of rejoicing?
Jumping up and down on a trampoline with a big smile on your face.
Absolutely not.
Reading the Out of Egypt book?
That may be a good idea.
Doubles in dessert?
You're getting closer.
How about inviting guests over for the Yom Tov holiday meal? We're talking about those guests who are in need, whether they're poor or lonely.
Precisely. That's the answer. How did you guess?
Indeed, the famous Rambam of Egypt, Rabbi Moshe, the son of Maimon, stressed the importance of sharing the joy of the festivals by inviting such guests to our holiday meals and uplifting their spirits.
Otherwise, cautions the Rambam,
if you're eating your Yom Tov meal with your own family and nobody else, you are not really celebrating Hashem's holiday.
Better to call it your stomach holiday.
Let's finish the Parsha with the heartfelt words of the Rambam in his Laws of Yom Tov.
On the 7 days of Pesach, the 8 days of Sukkot, and the other holidays, a person is obligated to be happy and in good spirits. He, his children, his wife, the members of his household, and all those who depend on him. As the Pasuk says, V'samachta b'chagecha, and you shall rejoice in your festivals. When a person eats and drinks in celebration of a holiday, he's obligated to feed converts, orphans, widows, and others who are needy and poor. But a person who locks the gate of his courtyard and eats and drinks only with his children and his wife, without feeding the poor and the embittered, this is not called rejoicing of a mitzvah. It's called rejoicing of his stomach.
Mishnah Torah, Laws of Yom Tov, Chapter 6, Halacha 18.
Thank you so much, Rambam. That was wonderful.
If you like this Taste of Shazak Parsha video, you'll love the complete video at shazak.com. You'll also get amazing Parsha quizzers, puzzles, Parsha on a page, and the Parsha post. Use coupon code SHAZAK for a great discount.
Oh, all right. That's me. All right. We have time for one more today. Rabbi Stern.
When God commands us regarding the Jewish festivals, we find that He links them to the agricultural cycle. For example, Shavuot is called Chag HaKatzir, the festival of harvest, and Sukkot is called Chag HaAsif, the festival of gathering in and collecting the produce and the crop. What's the connection between the Jewish festivals and the agricultural cycle? Well, when we analyze the growth of crop and produce, we find that in order for a seed to grow, it needs to shed its outer shell. And only after doing that can it grow into hundreds of times of its original size, into produce, into crop. The same can be said regarding ourselves too. In order for us to improve ourselves and to grow to our fullest potential, we must get rid of our outer shell. The outer shell is our ego. It's our need for impressing others. It's our adapting to the styles and the fashions and the fads of our times. When we get rid of that outer shell, we're able to reveal our inner selves, our deeper selves, and to be who we really want to be. This is the purpose of the three pilgrimage festivals, where on the Shalosh Regalim, God asks us to leave our homes and to travel to Jerusalem, to the Bet HaMikdash. When we leave our homes, we leave behind our worries and our concerns, our materialistic and mundane lifestyles, and we travel to Jerusalem to connect to the divine, to God, to Torah, to spirituality, to our true selves. This is a message not only to observe on the festival period, but in fact to live with every day of our lives, to shed the outer shell, to get rid of our externalities, and to reveal who I really want to be. Shabbat Shalom.
All right. All right, let's do this. And now we will get to the saying of Tehillim. All right. We all know that the saying of Tehillim is so vitally important. We should say it every chance we get to overturn the heavens. So here we go, chapter 122. Say it together, please.
שיר המעלות לדוד, שמחתי באומרים לי, אס אדוני נלך, עומדות היו רגלינו, בשערייך ירושלים, ירושלים הבנויה, כעיר שחוברה לה יחדיו, ששם עלו שבטים, שבטיה, עדות לישראל, להודות לשם אדוני, כי שמה ישבו כיסוס למשפט, כיסוס לבית דוד. שאלו שלום ירושלים, ישליו אוהבייך, יהי שלום בחילך, שלווה בר מנוסייך, למען אחי ורעי, הדברה נא שלום בך. למען בית אדוני אלוהינו, אבקשה טוב לך.
All right, Tanya. Today, the 9th day of Iyar.
Tanya thoughts for the 9th of Iyar. Tanya offers us a life hack, a shortcut to stir up the innate love that's hidden under all the clutter of life. That's one of Tanya's gifts, always on the lookout for creative ideas to help us out. So try to snug it. When we change the way we look at people, people change the way they look to us. Profound, huh? Start seeing all the love Hashem shows us, and you'll start feeling all your love for Him.
Let's talk Tanya for the 9th of Iyar. Today we're going to start chapter 46 in Tanya. Over the past few chapters, we've discussed different levels or entryways of love for God. And in this chapter, we are going to start a new entryway, a new meditation that leads us to love God. And this will take us actually for 4 chapters, chapters 46 through chapter 49. This particular avenue that leads us to love God is the easiest and most accessible of all of the different levels of love that the Alter Rebbe discusses in Tanya. In fact, the way the Alter Rebbe describes it, in the first words of this chapter is, Alter Rebbe says there's an easy and simple way for every single person to arrive at love. V'karev hadavar me'oid me'oid. It's something which is very, very practical and accessible for every single person. You know, we are familiar with the pasuk, Ki karev elecha hadavar me'oid. The whole Tanya is based on this verse that says that the Torah is very practical. But here the Alter Rebbe adds in another mo'id, 2 mo'ids. Very, very. What is this love and why is it so practical? This love, we will call it a reflecting love or a reciprocal love, this is based on a basic human nature, which we all have, which is the idea that emotions reciprocate or reflect each other. There's a verse in Mishlei, in Proverbs, which says, Kemayim hapanim lapanim kein lev ha'adam la'adam, which translates as, just like water reflects a person's face, if you look into water, you will see your face staring back at you. The same thing is also, human hearts also, they mirror each other. So, if I have a particular emotion towards someone else, that person is going to mirror that emotion back at me. If I love someone else, that person will love me. If I'm angry at someone else, that person will be angry at me. If I'm critical of someone else, that person will be critical of me. And we are going to try to leverage and use this basic human emotion in order to arrive at a love for God. How do we do that? So before we get there, the Alter Rebbe establishes a principle. This idea of reflecting love applies to all human beings, even amongst peers, meaning that if there's someone who's my equal and I have a love for that person, that automatically is going to evoke and elicit a love back towards myself. However, this rule is amplified and multiplied when we're talking about a relationship which is not one of equals, not one of peers. If you have a great person who demonstrates and shows love for a person who is inferior or much lower than that person, then that person of the lower status is going to be aroused with a much greater love. I'll try to give us an example to bring out his point. Is imagine a king, and not just any king, a great king, a powerful king, and try to envision this. One day, the king leaves the palace together with his entire entourage, his entire retinue of ministers and servants, and he heads out of the city, out of the capital city, to the outskirts of the city, where there is a garbage dump over there. And in this garbage dump is sitting a person, not a person of royal lineage, not a noble person, a simple person, a commoner. And not only is this person a commoner, this person's a lowlife, a lowly person, an unrefined person. And this person is sitting smack in the middle of the garbage dump and covered with filth. The king himself heads directly to the garbage dump, extracts this person from the garbage dump, takes this person back to the city, to the palace, brings him into the palace, cleans him off, gives him a room in the palace, and the king enters into an incredible relationship with this person. And the king showers this person with his love, and he hugs him and he kisses him. We can only imagine just how great the love that this commoner, this simple person, will have back for the king. In the words of the Alter Rebbe, he says, "Va'af im liboy kelev ha'evan," even if this person has a heart of stone, himes yimas v'hoya lemayim, this person's heart will melt and will become water and will pour out with love for this king. In tomorrow's Tanya, we're going to find out that this parable is actually something which happened with God and the Jewish people.
Thank you for joining Tanya in 5. Today's lesson for the 9th of Iyar. We begin chapter 46. Chapter 46 in one word is kimayim, like water. We'll see a reflection. The Alter Rebbe begins with a new technique on how we can develop a love for God. Speaking about previously how from when we don't have a love, we need compassion, and compassion will bring out the love for God. And yet there's another good way that we can bring this love out that we have for God. And actually it is korav ma'id ma'id. It's very, very near to us, borrowing from the title page, the one verse that this whole 53 chapters is based on. And it is indeed able to become so close that we can kindle the light of the love that's implanted in our very soul, concealed in our heart, that it should burn like burning fire for this passionate love for God, that we should surrender ourselves to Him, and with both our body and material possessions, with all our heart, with all our soul, and with all our might, from the depths from within, and in absolute truth, when we are saying the Shema, the prayer, the Shema, and the blessings that are related to the Shema. What is this technique exactly? How is it we can take to heart, and it is so close to us? So it's based on the verse from King Solomon, as a water face responds, or it reflects in the water a face of an individual, so does the heart of man to man. What does this mean? It means that the likeness and the features of the face of an individual, that is, when you look at a pond, for example, so it reflects back. What reflects back? The identical face that you show is reflected back. Not only do you see the features of the individual, but you also see is there sorrow in the individual? Is there joy in their life? That is what is shown, and that what is reflected back. Well, this is a metaphor, of course, to understand that when we awaken within ourselves a love for a friend, and we show that love, we express that love on our face with a beautiful countenance, a wonderful smile, a loving heart that is expressed, what will that do? It will respond, bring a response back from the heart of your friend, that they will also show that smile, or that loving demeanor will be reflected back, cementing the mutual love and the loyalty that each one has to each other. So this is the common nature, the character that every individual has when with people of equal status, two friends. How much more so, the Alter Rebbe continues with this metaphor, when we're speaking about a great and mighty king who shows an intense love not for his son or someone of an equal stature, but for a commoner, who is not just a commoner, but is despised and a lowly individual amongst men. And not only that, but this person is disgraceful because he's living on a dunghill. Yet this king comes down to him from his place of glory, from his castle, and together with his retinue, raises this individual who's living on this dunghill and exalts him from the dunghill. And not only that, but brings him to his palace, to his royal palace. And not only in the royal palace, but into the innermost chamber, a place where the regular servants don't go. And what does he do there? He shares with him a close, intimate relationship, with an embrace, with a kiss, and a spiritual attachment of soul to soul. This is the metaphor, right? So the metaphor continues. How much more will this individual be aroused, a doubled and redoubled love in his heart, this individual, this commoner, that was living on a dunghill, with a sense of humility to give back, to reflect back that which the king has shown him, with a true attachment of spirit, of complete heart and soul, giving himself over to the king. Even if an individual would have a heart of stone, the Alter Rebbe concludes the class and this metaphor, will surely melt away that heart of stone and become like water, and his soul will pour itself out like water with soulful longing for the love of this king who's shown so much goodness towards him. That's the metaphor. The analog we will have in the following days, and that is Tanya in 5. Thank you for joining.
All right, that takes us to Pirkei Avot. Thank you very much to someone who just gave us a beautiful, beautiful tip. $31. Thank you so much. All right. We are doing chapter 4 this week of Pirkei Avos. Here is the first Mishnah.
We're on Avot Perek Dalid, Mishnah Aleph. Very famous Mishnah everyone knows. Okay, so we'll read the Mishnah and then I'll explain it based on the Bar Tanura, and I have something to add. Ben Zoma Omer. Said Ben Zoma, Ezehu Chacham, who is wise? Halomed Mikol Adam. Someone who learns from Kol Adam, from every person. That's what we're going to translate. Shnei Amar, it says, Mikol Malamdai Hiskalti. From all of my teachers, I Hiskalti, Haskel, Seichel, I became intelligent. Ki Edotecha Sichali. For your testimony is a conversation, is talk for me. Ezehu Gibor. Who is a Gibor? A Gibor is a hero, but who is strong? HaKovesh Yitzro. Someone who is Kovesh, who overtakes his Yetzer, his inclination. Someone who overwhelms or covers up. Kovesh means cover up his inclination. Shenamar, as it says, Tov Erech Apayim Migibor. It's great. Better is a compassionate person than a strong person, than a hero. Umoshel Berucho Miloked Iyar. And someone who is Moshel, who rules over his spirit from someone, Loked Iyar, who conquers a city. Ezehu Ashir, who is rich. Hasamech Bechalko, one who is happy with his lot. Shnei Amar, as it says, Yigia Kapecha Kitochel. Okay, Yigia Kapecha, the sweat of your hand, the Kitochel, Yigia means the toil of your hand, Kid you should eat. Ashrecha V'tovlach, fortunate are you and good for you. Ashrecha Ve'olam Hazeh. Fortunate are you, meaning he's doing a little drasha. Ashrecha, here, Ashrecha, fortunate you in this world. V'tovlach, and it's good for you. Lo Olam Haba, in the world to come. Ezehu Mechubad, who is honored. HaMechabedet Habriyot, someone who honors the living things, who honors other people. Shneimar, as it says, Ki mechabdai achabed, because I will honor those who honor me. Ubozai, God says, Ubozai, and those who denigrate me, Yekalu, they will fly away, they will become light, they'll become nothingness. Okay, so first of all, in order to understand this, so that this whole one of this pasuk, we learn about Chacham, Gibor, Ashir, Mechubad. It's very interesting. So one of the commentaries, the Tosfos Yonder says, you have to first, look at this. These things come in a pasuk. Right? Ko Amar Hashem. So saith the Lord. It's Yirmiyah, Perek Tet. We're in Yirmiyah, Perek Tet. Ko Amar Hashem. Al yitalel chacham b'chachmato. You should not praise the wise in his wisdom. V'al yitalel gibor b'gvurato. Don't praise the gibor with his gvura, the mighty man with his might. V'yitalel ashir b'ashro. So this can't be a coincidence. Chacham, gibor, ashir. But he says, look, how should he be praised? Haskel v'yodauti, know me and be intelligent, be understanding and know me, know God. Meaning, these are traits. It's interesting, so it can't be a coincidence. Chacham, gibor, right? Ashir. Don't praise these people for that. I mean, they say and then he goes into Mechubad. It's very interesting. Now the Bar Tanura says, normally we understand who is wise, someone who learns from everyone. So the Bar Tanura says, no, we understand, we think, someone who learns from everyone is considered a Chacham. It's not true. He says, in each case, Ezehu Chacham, Shira'ui Shitalel B'chachmato. Who is the Chacham who is praiseworthy? Meaning, he's not saying who is a Chacham, because we know who's a Chacham. Smart people are wise. But who is a praiseworthy Chacham? Someone who made mikol adam, someone learns from everyone, even someone who is smaller. Since he's not, he's not worried about his own honor and learns from other people. His wisdom is the Shem Shamayim. So it's not who is a Chacham. Who is a Chacham worthy of praise? Next word, who is a Gibor? We don't have to know who is a Gibor. Rather, the same thing. 1 second. Ezehu Gibor. Okay. V'chein. Ezehu Gibor shira'ui shiyitalel b'gvurato. So the Bar Tanura in all these cases says, and Ezehu Ashir hara'ui lo litalel b'oshra. Okay, who is a Gibor? We don't know who a Gibor is. Someone is strong. He's strong. You don't have to be told. But who is a Gibor? Who is worthy of being praised? HaKovesh Yitzro. Someone a Gibor, who is strong but can overcome his Yetzer. Let's read the pasuk. He explains what he means. How do you know? This is the explanation of the pasuk. Tov erech hapayim Haba mitzad ha'gvura shel kibush hayetzer. Good is the compassionate who comes from the gvura. Lo mitzad rakut hatava, not because he's compassionate because he's weak. V'chein moshel beruchot kishaba miloked Iyar. Okay, the same is true of moshel berucho. Okay, tov erech hapayim migibor. Good is compassionateness that comes from strength. Umoshel berucho miloked Iyar. It's good for a person who is a loked Iyar, who conquers a city. Instead of killing everyone in the city, he's moshel berucho. He conquers his ruach, he conquers his spirit, and doesn't wipe everybody out. Ezehu Asher, we know who's rich. It's not hard to know who's rich, rather. But who is a rich person who should be praised? Hasamech bechalko. Someone who is happy in his life. All of this, by the way, this scripture is from Avot Rabbi Natan. The same thing appears, but it says the following: Ezehu Chacham Ulavin Mikol Adam, that we know. Okay. Ezehu Aluv Sheba Aluvim, who is the Aluv Sheba Aluvim? Aluv means like insulted, but lo, Ezehu Aluv Kimoshe. Ezehu Ashir Sheba Ashirim, who is the rich of the rich. Zesh Samach Bechelko. So it's not Ezehu Ashir, who is the rich of the rich. We know who's rich. Ezehu Gibor Sheba Giborim, who is the Gibor of the Giborim. That's a Kovesh Yitzor. So therefore, meaning we know Gibor. We think it's who is strong. It's not who is strong. Who is the strong of the strong? Same thing is true. Ezehu Mechubad, who is to be honored? HaMechabed Tabriot, someone who honors other people. Why? Okay. Why? These things are worthy. Someone who is strong, we honor those people. We honor the rich. We honor the wise. Okay. Nonetheless, even other people don't honor him. Nonetheless, if you have all these things, okay, and he's not nichbad, so let's say a person is, you could be rich, you could be wise, smart, you could be strong, and people hate your guts. But if you want people to honor you, then you have to be mechabed tabriyot. You want people to respect you. If God can respect other people, honor other people, then we certainly can as well. Stop here, and as we always do, dedicate our learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kama. Have a great day.
All right. There we go. Hold on one second. I'm just waiting for something to pop up over here. There we go. Fantastic. All right. Sefer HaMitzvos of the Rambam is next up. We are on day 8.
Baruch Hashem, it's day number 8 of our daily study of the Rambam's Sefer HaMitzvos. It's a special day in the 3 chapters a day of Mishnah Torah track because we're making our first siyum on a set of halachas. We're finishing Hilchos Yesodei Torah. Those are basic theological foundations of Jewish belief. And we're starting Hilchos Deis, the laws of temperament or of personal character development. And you're going to see in our study of the daily Sefer HaMitzvos, you'll see how we shift the types of mitzvahs that we're learning when we transition from the mitzvahs corresponding to Hilchos Yesodei Torah, which are more theological, and Hilchos Deis, which are more about personal character development. So, and I'll point that out to you when that shift happens. So let's start we have 4 mitzvahs today. Negative commandment number 64, a prohibition. Now, this prohibition is the flip side of a positive commandment that we had yesterday. Yesterday, we had a positive commandment to listen to a bona fide prophet. And how do we establish a bona fide prophet? For that, you have to study Mishnah Torah. It tells us the criteria over there. But the negative prohibition, which is the first mitzvah we're studying today, negative prohibition number 64, is the prohibition against testing a prophet after he's been established as verified. So it's interesting because the Torah, actually the verse there says don't test Hashem, but it's understood to mean do not test the prophet sent by Hashem. Do not test Hashem's prophet. All right. Now, watch the transition because that was really the end of mitzvahs that correspond to Hilchos Yesodei Torah, which are basic tenets of belief. Now we're switching to Hilchos Deis, which again I said is personal character development, or for want of a fancier term, I'll say becoming a mensch the way that Torah defines a mensch. And is there really any other form of mensch, right? So the next three mitzvahs are mitzvahs that correspond to the Hilchos Deis mitzvahs. Okay, the first one that we have that corresponds to Hilchos Deis is positive commandment number 8, which is v'alachta b'drachav, to go in Hashem's ways. You shall go in His ways. What does it mean to go in His ways? I'll give you a fancy academic term in Latin, if you want to sound fancy, imitatio Dei, to emulate, to imitate the divine. And that sounds very abstract. So what does it mean? Our sages tell us it means a bunch of things that are not mitzvahs in their own right, but they are part and parcel of trying to emulate Hashem. What does it mean to emulate Hashem? Our sages say, just as He is compassionate, you should be compassionate. Just as He is merciful, you should be merciful. And that expresses itself behaviorally in conduct such as, the examples given are clothing the naked, visiting the sick, burying the dead. So that would all go under that category of positive commandment number 8, which is emulating Hashem. Okay, positive commandment number 6 is clinging to the sages. Now, it's interesting. I mentioned before the first mitzvah we learned today, not to test the prophet. It really says don't test Hashem. So similarly, clinging to the sages, the mitzvah, the way it says in Torah is uladavka voy, and to cling to Him. Him means Hashem. So why do we say the mitzvah is to cling to the sages? So our sages say, well, how do you cling to Hashem? Is He not a consuming fire? How can you cling to fire? So the answer is, you cling to the sage. You have a close relationship with the Torah scholar, and that's how you cling to Hashem. And if you really want to understand this properly, you have to learn Tanya, specifically chapter 2 of Tanya, where it explains how all the neshamas originally come from this very lofty level where they're all bound up with Hashem, but through the process of embodiment, we become estranged from our source and our origin and our true selves. But what happens is you find a true Torah scholar, somebody who's a living embodiment of Hashem's wisdom and will here on this earth, and you connect to that person, and through that relationship with that person, what are you really doing? You're reconnecting to your own lost identity, to your true self, the way that you really are in your origin, which is bound up with Hashem. So basically through this associative property, you connect to the scholar to reconnect to yourself, which is connecting to Hashem. Followed that? Okay, again, learn chapter 2 of Tanya. And speaking of Tanya, you really got to learn Tanya to understand positive commandment number 206. You know which chapter of Tanya? You'll tell me in 1 second. Positive commandment 206 is love your fellow as yourself. That, of course, you got to learn Pedig Lev, the 32nd chapter of Tanya, to really understand that. But without getting into the Hasidic explanation of love your fellow as yourself, I'll explain very simple. In the Sefer HaMitzvahs, the Rambam just says, you know what it means? It means we're talking about practical things, financial and material things, that if you would want it, so you should want that for your friend. And if you wouldn't want something, like you would feel it would be undesirable, then you shouldn't want your friend to have that. That's what it means. Okay, we're going to continue with more of these mitzvahs that correspond to Hilchos Deis, and hopefully we'll not just learn about them, but we'll try to put them into practice too as we're going through the daily study. See you tomorrow.
Today we study 4 mitzvahs, 1 negative and 3 positive. Negative mitzvah 64 is the prohibition to test the truth of a prophet's promises or threats once he has been confirmed as an authentic prophet. Positive mitzvah number 8 is our commandment to emulate God's kind and merciful ways to the best of our capability. Positive mitzvah number 6 is our commandment to mingle and spend time with the wise men among the Jewish people, Talmidei Chachamim, so that we learn from them and become closer to God through them. Positive mitzvah number 206 is the core commandment of Ahavat Yisrael, love for a fellow Jew, which the Rambam defines as what I want for myself, I want for my fellow, and what I don't want for myself, I don't want for my fellow.
All right. We're doing great today. We are now up to matters of Mashiach. for the the 9th day of Iyar. Let me get to the right thing here. This reset without my permission over here. Okay. It says in the Haggadah, Harachaman, Hashem should give us Yom Shekulei Tov. Hashem should grant us a day that is all good, a day that is all long. In the time of Mashiach, the day is called the day that is all long. How do we understand this cryptic expression? When Hashem's essence will be revealed, both the world and mankind will endure forever. That means that the era will perfect not only the future, but also the past, elevating everything that happened throughout exile and revealing the original purpose behind creation. On a smaller scale, we too have the power to change our past. We have to transform every aspect of our life, even our mistakes, into lessons and sources of inspiration. Back to Shmuel Tzvi.
Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Hope all is well. A very, very deep question for everybody today. It's a very crucial and fundamental question. And that is, when the Jewish Messiah arrives, are the non-Jews going to believe in him? Are they going to accept him? And the answer is absolutely yes. And not only is this just a part of this person being the Mashiach, this is a prerequisite and a direct necessity for this person being the Mashiach. What do I mean by this? I mean that in order for this person to be the Mashiach, the non-Jews must accept him as well. And of course, there's different stages of becoming Mashiach. That before this person is revealed as Mashiach, there might be times where, there's not an awareness of this person being the Mashiach yet. But when this person is crowned and declared Mashiach officially, the entire world will surely accept this person being Mashiach, and that is how we'll know he's Mashiach. Is that Moses redeemed the Jewish people in the redemption of Egypt, and the Messiah will redeem the world at large. And that is a difference between the redemption, the final redemption, and the redemption from Egypt. There's a verse to prove this. It says, you will know on this day that the Lord is God. And it also says, on this day, Hashem will be king over the entire world. What does it mean for someone to be king? The subjects have to accept him as king. A person can walk down the street and say, I'm king over this place, I'm king over this country. He can say whatever he wants, but unless the people accept this person as king, then they're not actually king. They're not a king. A king is crowned by the nation. The nation is the one who causes this kingship. So therefore, in order for Hashem to be king over the entire world, the entire world must know Hashem and must accept him as their king. Not just the Jewish people, but the world at large. And therefore, when they will accept Hashem as king, surely they'll accept the Messiah as king, because this prophecy about the world accepting Hashem as king will happen when the Messiah comes. The Messiah will be, Hashem will be revealing himself to the world. The Messiah will be his right-hand man, his top guy. So surely if they accept Hashem, they'll accept his top guy, the Messiah, who will be the king over the world as well. Hashem will be the king of kings. The Messiah will be the king. The Messiah will be the king, and Hashem will be his master, the even greater, the king of kings. Therefore, this is a crucial point to recognize. When people say, "What if the Messiah comes and they don't accept him?" Well, then he won't be Messiah yet, because for him to be officially declared Messiah and officially recognized and officially escort us into the redemption, this person will be accepted by the entire world. Because everyone will know God, everyone will be aware of God. No one will say he's a false Messiah, because the fact that he's actually Messiah means that everyone accepts him. They go hand in hand, these two factors. That's why it's very interesting when people say false Messiah. It's not a false Messiah, it's just a false. Because, meaning when people say the Jewish Messiah, when some people claim that there will be a Jewish Messiah who the Jews will accept, but the world will not accept him, well, for the entire world, for the Jewish people to fully recognize and accept this person as Mashiach, the whole world has to accept him as Mashiach. Now you could say that there are people that accept a certain Jew as potential Mashiach or as their Mashiach, but they don't say he's Mashiach they don't say he's been revealed to the world as Mashiach, meaning we haven't entered the days of Mashiach yet. That's the difference. When there's been Jewish people throughout every generation that we say is the Mashiach of our generation, we say that this person is the Mashiach of our generation, and God willing will be revealed soon. But that's the difference, is when we will officially enter the Geula, the redemption, the Mashiach times, where this person will be crowned as Mashiach and there'll be a third temple and all the prophecies will unfold. Then of course the entire world will recognize this person. So what we have to do now is focus more on bringing the Mashiach. Rather than trying to find out who Mashiach is, we have to find the Mashiach within each and every one of us, which means to bring Mashiach. And when we bring Mashiach, surely when Mashiach comes, we'll all recognize it. And to realize that the Rebbe says that every good deed we do can be enough to bring Mashiach, and that we're in the final generation. The Rebbe told us this. You do a little bit more today than you did yesterday, it could be enough to flip the switch and to bring Mashiach. Whenever you find yourself in a position where you say, should I do this good deed or should I not? You should probably do it. Yeah, I think you should surely do it. Because you could be the one to bring Mashiach. The Frierdiker Rebbe, the sixth Rebbe of Chabad, says that one single Jew returning to God will bring Mashiach. One single Jew, if he fully returns to God, he will bring Mashiach. He or she will bring Mashiach. So let's bring the Mashiach, guys. We have the power. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, spread this message. You can help support and donate to the Torah channel, which is an infinite mitzvah to help support Torah spreading to the entire world. Any amount counts. May Hashem bless you guys. May we be redeemed fully and immediately with the true Mashiach, who will bring awareness and knowledge and the experience of God to the entire world. God bless you all.
All right. And now our PSAs. All right, must be a soup kitchen and food pantry available by texting the word food to 726-879, 726-879, 7 days worth of pantry food and hot meals every single day. In Rockland County, it's tomcheishabbos.org. In Lakewood, it is tomche.org. In Chicago, it's the Chicago Center Kitchen at breakfastwithelli.live / Chicago Food Bank and breakfastwithelli.live / soup kitchens for more information about all of these places. All right. Hold on. All right, achiezer.org, available 24/7, 365 if you need them. They've got pretty much everything you need. I'm sorry. They've got everything you need at your fingertips. So call them up if you need them. Health care, mental health care, physical health care, help with bills, help with electric, help with anything you need. All right?
Dead in the Surfside, Florida condo collapse as the crew search.
All right, Hatzalah EMS, available 24/7, 365, worldwide. You can find out more about them. Go to the App Store on iOS or or Android, and download the Hatzalah Global Assist app. They are available worldwide. If you don't have Hatzalah in your neighborhood, contact them or me, and we'll get one started. All right? Miss Oskim in Times of Bereavement is there for you, 718-854-4548. And shut. If you are, God forbid, the victim of a hate crime in progress, you need to call 911 immediately, and let's get these guys, all right? And please continue wearing your masks.
Wear a mask. Wear a mask.
I think
really much to ask.
the urgency of everything is,
your face. Oh, it's the simplest
and I think pretty soon,
at the gym, at the store.
I'm assuming that by summer, by the official start of summer, that we should probably be able to start considering going without masks. In the meantime, please consider wearing a mask when you are out in public, in crowded areas, or amongst people in close quarters, all right? And please get your vaccinations and your booster shots. I'm still waiting word on that next booster. I think it's about time. What did I just see? Yeah, so I am now, I'm how far am I? The bivalent. When did I get the bivalent? Hold on. I'm looking at my card because I keep records here. September. So yeah, I'm September of last year. So it's almost time, or maybe it is time. And I'm just waiting for them to announce that they have the updated booster shot. I'm going to keep up to date. I really am. All right. All right. Let's bring some heaven down to earth. Communication technologies have provided us a metaphor to comprehend how one being can perceive all things in a single instant. It makes you wonder how previous generations could possibly have understood such things. Yet they did. All right. You want to talk more about this? Come to me on social media. Excuse me. Go back to where you came. Any of the Actors Rabbis groups at WhatsApp, Clubhouse, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Spotify, Twitter, Telegram. We're there on all these services, and theactorsrabbi.com, where you can sign up for life coaching services should you need them. Let's make an after bracha. Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam boirei nefashos rabois v'chesroinan al kol ma sheborasa lachayos bohem nefesh kol chai baruch chai haolamim. All right. I think we'll do that for the ocean. All right. Thank you for being here. It means so much to me. Yes, we've got a great song for you today. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Let's see. It is Tanase Liot. Yeah. All right. Let's we'll see what it is when we get there. It's a surprise song for you. Thank you to my Patreon sponsors, Passport Riddle, Tarzan Orchids, D&D Design, Dr. Susan Spitzer, Bracha, Biederman. If you'd like to become a sponsor today, go to patreon.com/theactorsrabbi and become a sponsor. You can become a sponsor for $1 a month if you'd like, or you can do $31, or you can do that's $1 a day. Or you can do it monthly, or you can do it yearly. Sponsor us for an anniversary, a birthday, a dedication in memory of someone. And I will talk about it right here. We broadcast to 12 different platforms, and we are seen by hundreds and hundreds of people every single day. And a lot of people watch this later on in the day when they have time, or in the evening. Some people watch it, whenever they watch it. But it's getting seen, so I'm very happy about that. Good Vach, Shavua Tov, a good week. I'm so glad that you are here with me. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you tomorrow. In the words of Rabbi Isaac Hamler, have affection for a fellow, and Hashem will have affection for you. Do a kindness for a fellow. Hashem will do a kindness for you. Draw a fellow close, and Hashem will draw you close. Thursday night is Pesach Sheni, so save some matzah. All right? Have a great day. Make it a great and glorious day. Be the reason someone smiles, and I will talk to you tomorrow, God willing. Bye.
בין השבילים גורר רגליים, אתה שם כי אתה שם, לכולם נותן ידיים, ורק בעצמך נלחם. רואים את זה בעיניים, הדרך לאתה כוזר, מתרחקת כמו שמיים, ואתה נשאר. תנסה להיות מי שאתה, אל תפחד לקפוץ כיתה, לא סתם הגעת לכאן, אתה בדיוק בזמן, אותו כוכב משחר ילדותך, אותו אחד שגדל עם עצמך. אל תנסה להיות הכי מושלם, כי אין כמוך בכל העולם. בין עננים תפוס כנפיים, תמריק הנשר די לכאוב, לאהבה הושט ידיים, חבק לבך אל תעזוב, סמן נתיב לרגליך, לא חשוב המרחק ממך, שביל חלב אל כוכבך, וקח איתך את עצמך. תנסה להיות מי שאתה, אל תפחד לקפוץ כיתה, לא סתם הגעת לכאן, אתה בדיוק בזמן, אותו כוכב משחר ילדותך, אותו אחד שגדל עם עצמך. אל תנסה להיות הכי מושלם, כי אין כמוך בכל העולם. שאתה, אל תפחד לקפוץ כיתה, לא סתם הגעת לכאן, אתה בדיוק בזמן, אותו כוכב משחר ילדותך, אותו אחד שגדל עם עצמך. אל תנסה להיות הכי מושלם, כי אין כמוך בכל העולם. שבילים גורר רגליים, אתה שם כי אתה שם, לכולם נותן ידיים, ורק בעצמך נלחם.